There has been an increasing popularity in open-world games lately, and between franchises such as Grand Theft Auto, Saints Row, and Infamous, the competition can be pretty stiff. With Watch Dogs, Ubisoft is attempting to expand its stake in the genre beyond the Assassin's Creed series with its modern-day cybercriminal theme. Watch Dogs has been analyzed for a while now as one of the first true demonstrations of next-gen gaming. At times it finds ways to distinguish itself as one, but not without a few missteps along the way. You play as Aiden Pierce, the most suspicious man in the world. He's a fixer who, with the power of his smartphone and a few hacker buddies, can infiltrate virtually any security system or personal data he comes within visual range of. This is largely because this version of 2013 Chicago is controlled by a single operating system named CTOS. Aiden is a force of vengeance. He'll go through any means necessary to bring justice to the people who have wronged his sister and her children. The story takes a while to gain momentum, but finishes satisfactorily, giving purpose to the many infiltrations and reconnaissance missions you'll take part in. The primary problem with the story is that Aiden is a hypocrite. One second you'll be chasing down a mugger who robbed a guy to gain the respect of the city, the next you'll be pocketing what the mugger stole just before wiping out a man's bank account who was just diagnosed with cancer and volunteers at the soup kitchen. Aiden seems to suffer from schizophrenia. He's a bit of a pacifist and just wants to help people. But then again, if a couple dozen people need to lose their life savings so that he can buy enough ammo to commit a mass murder, it all balances out in the end. His unusual sense of karma seems to even seep into his voice, as he'll go from a relatively normal tone to a gravelly wet delivery like Old Snake from Metal Gear Solid 4 with stage 3 throat cancer, with little rhyme or reason to it.
Alright, fine. Tell me about your phone call.
Typically, games like this have a very gray character, or mechanics that allow the player to choose between good or evil. Watch Dogs wants you to be the good guy, even though the very nature of everything you do is inherently selfish or evil. And this contradictory nature always kept me distanced from the events as they held an almost comedic value to me. The city of Chicago is handled well and dispenses plenty of interesting areas to explore and navigate. The streets are littered with things to hack and interact with, and for the most part, it's all beautifully rendered. Although at times the lighting can make things feel pretty flat and there's the occasional texture problem. Compared to its contemporaries such as San Andreas, the design however does feel a bit old school, as you're confined to the ground for the most part with a limited selection of vehicles to navigate in. There's the occasional alleyway that has ladders and lifts to the higher levels of the city, but much of the city can feel sparsely lived in and overly clean. It just doesn't have that feeling of culture and habitability that some other titles demonstrate. That being said, there is a lot to do in Chicago. Between virtual Google Glass style minigames that place virtual objectives for you to gather, and some crazy drugs that make you hallucinate and see all sorts of crazy shit, Aiden can play poker, chess puzzles, or play vigilante chasing down criminal convoys and stopping crimes, among other things. Doing all this gives experience or unlocks upgrades that can be used in a variety of different upgrade menus, allowing him to expand his connection with the city infrastructure, drive better, shoot better, or rob innocent civilians more efficiently. Some of these games are entertaining and add value, while others are pretty tedious and boring. It's all optional and only supplements the main campaign, so participate in the activities you like doing. As for the meat of the game, there isn't a huge variety of missions. Typically, you are either doing a mission in which you evade people in a high-speed chase. Initially, the cars can feel a bit floaty, and their lack of realistic physics can make the driving frustrating, but as you upgrade your driving and countermeasure abilities, they become a bit more fun. You may be escorting somebody by guiding them through an area while shepherding them through video surveillance, or most of the time you'll be infiltrating a structure of some sort by one of two means: stealthily hacking into systems and bouncing around from one camera signal to the next, or a one-man army, guns blazing. I personally went through the first 2/3 via the camera hacking, but this got to be really tedious after a while, and eventually phased into sneaking around knocking people out to a full-on murder spree. During this madness, it's not unusual for civilian AI to have no regard for themselves and run around in circles in the middle of a gunfight. The stealth is a welcome change of pace for games for this genre, but for the most part, it doesn't require a whole lot of brainpower, and after a few hours, the initial joy of arming a guy's C4 and watching him panic as he tries to discard it dulls. That being said, the camera swapping along with the hacking interface and some of the platforming is puzzle-like and deserves commendation, as more AAA games need to incorporate mechanics like these. Just maybe not rely on the same ones so much. One of the high points of Watch Dogs is its multiplayer. At any time while playing by yourself, you can be invaded by a rival fixer who will try and steal progress points from you that are used to unlock a series of multiplayer-only upgrades. These usually involve one of two game types: a hide-and-seek variant where the invader must hack the other player and stay within boundaried area without being detected. It can be exhilarating on both sides. While hacking, you'll have to become incognito and blend into your surroundings or hide while the defender scans the area in search of the intrusion, as the clock ticks down and the search area becomes more and more confined. There are a number of times that it came down to the last few seconds that I found my intruder or maintained my cover just before being discovered. Similarly, there's a variant in which you must actively pursue the player and stay within proximity of him without giving away your position or causing them harm. These two cat and mouse game types were a refreshing change of pace that creates some intense scenarios. In addition, there's a 2 to 8 player racing mode, a 3 to 8 player competition for a shared objective, and free roaming with up to 8 other people. All of these can be accessed via your in-game smartphone, along with any other game type and progress bar. And for good measure, you're even allowed to sync a wireless device to play your own custom playlist. Watch Dogs partially manages to live up to expectations. It has a few creative features that are accessed through its hacking framework. The representation of Chicago is sufficiently detailed with a great draw distance and high poly counts and smooth frame rates. The multiplayer is well executed and provides a unique experience, and there's generally a lot to do. The apparent multiple personality disorder of the central protagonist is jarring in an otherwise competently told story. Awkward car physics, substandard shooting, and repetitious missions all hold it back from being the first truly great next-gen game. If you're into open world city games and you're looking for a sandbox to play in, give Watch Dogs a go. It'll hold your attention, and the multiplayer will probably give you a few thrilling experiences. If you're wanting the next great open world franchise, Watch Dogs makes a decent first attempt, but has a few things to tweak before they hack back into the system and make another run at it. Watch Dogs is a solid title, but we're still waiting for the first definitive next-gen experience.